Hallo, Stefan.
Hi
So,
Heidi, hello. Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think anybody's here yet, but never mind.
You're here and
I'm
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 here.
here.
Your
That's
lips
all
and
what
my
what's
lips
important.
awake in the dream of romance and delight. Okay, that's another song. Has been Marlene Dietrich in the movie Desire.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we're here again to talk about music. But first, let's say I was saying just before we started this, I said, "Oh yeah, I played the Billie Holiday song," and then I thought maybe these times are better to play "Strange Fruit" of Billie Holiday
Oh,
because it's sad days as the USA is burning. I don't want to say too much about it, but Strange Fruit, look it up. It's one of the first protest songs in jazz from 1937 from a poem, and then 1939 Billie Holiday made it a song. Like I said, I don't want to talk too much about it, but let's say we hear what's going on, we watch it, we're thinking about it, and Black Lives Matters.
yeah.
And I say, I think as jazz lovers and Lindy Hopper's swing dancers, we need to acknowledge the roots of this music and dance, and learn about it historically and culturally. I think put it in a context, it's important, and try to connect it with the present,
Yeah.
of which I say, yes, was it yesterday? There was this great talk about Chick Webb. Chrissy J. Wells wrote, I think, a dissertation about it. And yesterday there was this talk, so you can still see it. Go to the Frankie Manning page,
Mhm.
where you can find the talk, and also watch the Q&A, which is not really, well, it's kind of Q&A. Um, and that ties really the past with the present, and I think it's important to watch. So that's what we all can do, and I think that's all we say about it. Let's have the music talk about it.
Yeah.
We can play. We decided to have it because next weekend was supposed to be the Slow Feet Festival in Rotterdam. Yeah, and you have a Slow Balboa CD.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
happening because of this stupid virus. But we felt like, oh, play some slow music, and it's
Hmm.
like a summer day today,
It is.
so it kind of fits maybe the slower music.
Yeah,
But
it's very interesting because the idea with the Slow Ball CD came during a Balboa Castle camp in Besenstedt years ago. And it was first time that Gemma and Dan were showing Laminu. And
ah,
this was quite interesting. And I spoke to Mickey Fortunas, who was there, and he said, "Oh yeah, I do slow ball. That's different, but it's matching." And I said,
mm-hmm.
"Okay, that's really interesting." And we were talking about slow music and slow Balboa and Laminu in comparison. He said, "You should do a CD." I said, "Well, I can't because it's not only slow music. Slow and slow music is something different. I also have a blues CD, but the blues music has another feeling and another beat to dance to. So
Yes.
I feel that I need different music for Laminu, I need different music for slow ball, and I would need different music for blues." And I asked Mickey to help me. Yes, of course. Send me
So
titles and we make a choice. And we were corresponding online for 2 weeks maybe, and he helped me. He supported me to make this choice of music. Nowadays, with a little more experience of slow music and slow balboa, I would take a little more, even slower songs than I did there.
uh-huh.
This one is quite okay. It's a first trial, but a new Slow Balboa CD would look different. But that's good. We are learning.
That's yeah. It's good. When you just talk about Castle Camp, that's funny because last time when I mixed up Harry Perry and Danny Polo,
Yeah.
I wondered why I mixed them up so much. Actually, I found both music. I got it into from my library, and I put it in my own collection at the same time, and that was the beginning of October 2013,
Yeah.
and that was just after Castle Camp 2013.
Uh-huh.
where we met for the first
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Well, we met online before, but that was the real time, and I'm sure I got those two names from you because you were DJing there.
Yeah.
I did DJ there a bit as well as a volunteer, but I think I got those names from you. And after that, I ran to my local library and got those names.
Yeah.
And I ripped them at the same time. So they're both in my head at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
and I think that was like, it was my first castle camp, but maybe my favorite one. It was really,
Yeah.
it was really,
Yeah.
really good. It was like, I said it was Hogwarts, which people know Harry Potter. It was like Hogwarts for Balboa dancers.
Hmm.
I had to say
It
that.
was maybe a little like the beginning years of Hereng that we didn't live.
I was never in Hereng in it.
No, me
I
neither.
came so late to.
That's
I was in
that,
Hereng, but late.
that's how I imagine that Hereng could have been, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's something else from last time. You played a song,
Mhm.
Bounce Me Brother, with a solid four.
Yeah.
And I asked, who was the singer?
Yeah. And she's called Dorothy Villiers.
So
Yeah.
we have that in the books.
Yes.
And there was another thing. We were talking
Mhm.
about the small bands, Benny Goodman. You said, oh, I think the first recording was 1935. And I was like, oh, 1936, I thought. But you were right.
Yeah.
Wikipedia was right, of course.
Okay. Thanks.
It was I think
I like it.
the trio recorded in 1935, but I think the quartet started
Yes.
recording in 1936.
And I checked and double checked. So my record I have of Benny Goodman with vocalist Lionel Hampton is from 1936.
Yeah.
It's exactly like you, and this is the first record they played together. So
So
yeah. And the trio
we
in
set the
35
record straight.
recorded in 36. We find out everything.
No, it's good. And I also looked
Yeah.
up the Afro-American ballroom couple, Yana. I can't ask her
Yeah.
yet. I don't think she got the book yet, but I looked them up again for their names. They were called Norton and Margot.
Okay.
And they came with a Cotton Club review of 1937. That was a troupe of dancers with Teddy Hill as a band,
Yeah.
and other dancers among Whitey's Lindy Hoppers.
Yeah.
Not Norma, because Norma was doing Day at the Races, but
Yes.
some other dancers.
Yeah.
And those two came with that troupe to Europe in
Mhm.
1937, and that's so interesting. I don't know much about them other than he appeared in few films. I think Jan and I found him, but we're not really sure. We have to look into that. What I found interesting about them, they had a dance studio in Harlem.
Yeah.
That's also interesting, 1936, before they came to Europe for the summer. And she's an interesting person. Her mother played piano in nightclubs,
Mhm. Okay.
and
Yeah.
her father was one of the musicians in James Reese Europe's orchestra.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
band that came during the Harlem Hellfighters that came to fight in the First World War in Europe.
Yeah.
And her dad stayed in Europe
Yeah.
after
Ah.
that. I think he left his family, as I understood from Wikipedia. But I was like, what? This is like funny connection
Yeah.
with Europe again
Yeah.
in many ways. So those were the things I had to address
Yeah.
from last day. So maybe we can have some music.
We
Or
should.
what?
And the good thing is, of course, there's this cliche of a slow ball song. Everybody knows it, and everybody plays it, and everybody loves it. And the song is called Moonglow. And everybody plays and loves the
It's
version.
good.
Benny Goodman with Lionel Hampton.
It's good.
And I spoke to Mickey about this recording, and he said, if you have any other version, take it. So I took another version of Moonglow for my slow ball
CD.
CD.
You can still
Uh,
order it.
Yes, of course you can.
Tell so.
And I will ship it by mail because mail is still working. So that's the good thing. And yeah, so I double click and then we should hear Moonglow by Cab Calloway.
It's gorgeous.
This is so really very beautiful, and it's
Hmm.
surprising that this really is Cab Calloway, because with Cab Calloway we always think about the showman and the
Oh yeah,
guy,
sketching and,
the
and dancing.
moocher, and this was a serious, nice ballad, and really a jazz recording. And here in Germany, it came out on Elektrola.
Hmm.
And the funny thing is, it says "Music for the German Home," Musik fürs deutsche Haus.
Yeah, why not?
The matching sleeve to this record.
Aha, it's
Yeah,
the
from the
original.
same period, from the same year. So this is really exciting to me to see music for the German home. Let's take Cab Calloway.
It's a good tip.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, and this recording to me is very interesting because Cab Calloway explained himself when he was asked about this record, because it has been very exceptional of the recordings. And he said, well, when we played live, we had to play ballads for the dancers, of course, and for the people in love. And normally for the ballads, I played the alto saxophone. And he claimed that he is the saxophone player.
Aha.
That's really interesting, because you never imagine him playing a saxophone.
No.
You see him singing and dancing around and doing funny things and directing his band. He's been a perfect entertainer,
Yes.
but he also has been a very good jazz saxophone player. So, yeah, it seems that it is him playing the saxophone.
So
Very beautiful, exceptional recording.
I know him I know him. I don't know him as an entertainer, but I show you something. How I got to learn 1980, but maybe 1981.
Blues Brothers, yeah, perfect.
This was my introduction to Cab Calloway.
Ah, okay.
The movie.
Yeah, lovely.
It says Cab Calloway, Minnie the Moocher.
Yeah.
So 1980, the film came out.
Yeah.
Whatever you may think of the film, the music is
lovely
great in this film.
The film is fun. The story is bullshit, but fun. And the music is just most amazing. And this, to me, this movie opened the ears and the heart to rhythm and blues.
Yes,
I
because
from swing music, and all of a sudden I hear the rock and roll and the rhythm and blues, and I thought, like, wow, that's really great. Oh, that's Aretha Franklin. That's really fantastic.
For me, it was the introduction to not only Cab Calloway, so jazz. It was the introduction to Ray Charles.
Yeah.
It was my introduction to Aretha Franklin, and it was my introduction to John Lee Hooker.
Yeah.
And was it you that told me about the shellac record that is played? Who was it? Somebody told me, like,
in the
it
very
was you?
beginning.
Yes, Hotel.
For many young guys, this record, when they get home to
This hotel where they live.
Apartment,
Small room.
Just switches on the turntable, and it's the Decca record of Louis Jordan, Let the Good Times Roll.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is the flip side of Ain't Nobody Here But Us Chickens. And for many young people, when they saw the speed of the record, they were like, what's this? I want this record. but it did not appear on LP. So they have been told, oh, you have to get 78.
It's
And
not on there.
This movie and the scene of the 78 spinning opened the heart of many young guys who started collecting shellac records.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's so fantastic. It's really
it's not on. It's not on here.
Bridge in between the worlds. Yeah, sure. It's not because they have rights.
Yeah, I thought the same about John Lee Hooker is not on here. Oh, Cap Calloway is on here. James Brown is on here as well, and of course Aretha Franklin. Think, which was This is I bought another. So I think I saw the movie in 1981. It was released in 1980, but in my little town, everything came like a year later. So probably I saw the film. I saw it in 1981, and it made a big impression. So I ran to the store to get this, and I got there's another album of the band, the Blues Brothers Band live, which is But yeah, Cap Calloway. That was my introduction to Cap Calloway. And actually, I thought they were singing my name. It was Heidi Heidi. Oh,
yeah.
Joking.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in my teens and I hardly could speak any word English. So
your song,
Heidi Heidi Ho.
You're Heidi the Moocher.
Something like that.
But it's very interesting. There's a documentary about the movie making of Blues Brothers. And they talk to musicians 30 years later.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Because they made a new film, I think, a remake or something.
No, it was just a documentary looking back and explaining how it was to make this movie. I've seen this when I was in California last time with Cal Bell. That's already 6 years ago, I think, or 5 years ago. So it's been quite a while. But yeah, some years ago when I was in the US. And they played this documentary on TV. And it's been very interesting because some technical guys said they were there to organize the musicians, and they were asked to bring in a musician coming from blues music who could take a role as kind of manager, who is cool, who has a song, who's not forgotten, but who is a link into the other world. And they said, yeah, okay, let's ask Cap Calloway. And the whole team was like, who? They said, well, Cap Calloway.
Oh my God.
And they were checking, and somebody brought a record, an LP of Cap Calloway. And he was singing all the songs, that's right. It was an EP, 2 songs per side on a 45. But it was quite modern at that time, in 1980 or 1979. And they said, well, this song, the first song, we know it, and we want him to play it like he did in the 30s. This is not the original version. It was a funk version of Minnie the Moocher. So the team started talking to Cap Calloway, who was there, very cool, all in leather. And he looked a little bit like in the movies with sunglasses and very cool, very smart, nice elder man, but very modern.
Always very well dressed.
Yeah. And they spoke to him about this movie, and he said, oh, that's really great. I like to do it. And and I just made a beautiful funk version of Minnie the Moocher. They said, no, we want you to do it like you did in 1930. He said, what? This old-fashioned bullshit. But finally, when he saw all these young rock and roll musicians coming there, and they really dressed up in tuxedos, he said, I can't direct a band playing 30s jazz in leathers and rock and roll style like that. And they said, no, they will dress up. And they were sitting there all in tuxedos. And he said, yeah, now I jump back 40 years and let's do it as we always did. And he was very impressed that these young musicians coming from heavy metal and rock and roll, they felt immediately what to do. And this Minnie the Moocher version is perfect.
And he wears, I think, a white tuxedo.
Yeah.
In this.
He's in white. I think it's even white tails he has.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Perfect.
So they were playing with this and the different worlds. So it's really fantastic.
It's a nice thing.
Yeah.
Shall we
so
play
this is the American side and the black side. And on my slow ball CD, in this mix, of course, there's something, some European band that must be on a Balboa compilation. And this band is the most famous gypsy swing band. Well, who might it be?
Guess only once.
There's only one. So I propose we just take another very nice, very slow track from the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I have to get this technical thing of only tone and share. It's coming. Most beautiful.
It is, and it's for me. It's summer music somehow.
Yeah, it's a little bit a summer evening, and you have a nice gin and tonic
Wine.
or a nice tea, and you
Wine would
play
be good.
music, and you relax on a sofa, and yeah,
It's
yeah.
beautiful. I love it for the yeah. It's beautiful.
Maybe I should play it a little more often. It's very rare that I play it. Sometimes I have to rediscover things I've been working with years
So
ago.
for those who had no idea who this was, of
Oh,
course.
yeah, of course. On the pictures, you could see the band leader because the regular band leader of this quintet is Stéphane Grappelli.
Mm-hmm.
And he hired Django Reinhardt and his family and cousins to found a quintet, the famous quintet of the Hot Club de France, Hot Club of France. And they separated in 1939. So Stéphane Grappelli and
Already.
Louis Vola got stuck in London when war broke out. And they stayed in London for good, both being Jewish. And Louis Vola founded his own orchestra, and Stéphane Grappelli joined Hatch's Swingtet and made recordings with them, and Beryl Davis, the singer Beryl Davis. And then only after the war, they all returned to France and they founded a new quintet of Hot Club de France. But it's very interesting because this only string band had a very special sound, and it's with the violin very unique. And after Grappelli left, Django Reinhardt wanted to keep a quintet in the spirit of the Hot Club de France quintet, but he didn't want to replace Stéphane Grappelli with a violin. So he asked Alex Combel and Hubert Rostin to join in with their clarinets. So one or the other is joining in, and he takes over the violin part on the clarinet. And it's interesting to find recordings that were made in 1940 and 41 of the same arrangements they made in 1937 or 36 with
Aha.
Capelli. So there's, for example, exactly like you.
Yes.
There's a version with Alix Combel on clarinet, but there's another version that's very beautiful with Capelli on violin. And it's almost the same arrangement, but it gets a completely different spirit with the clarinet. So all of a sudden you have a wind into the strings, but the only string quintet has been so unique. And it's been the very first band from Europe that was recognized as a real European jazz band in the United States.
Go figure.
But their records were sold on Victor label and here in Germany on Electrola, what was a daughter label of Victor, his master's voice. And it's very funny to see that Cab Calloway and Stéphane Grappelli, Django Reinhardt are on the same label.
Ah, yes, actually, yes. I had to think about like
so the black band and the gypsy band is good for the German home, it says on the sleeve.
And there's some Jewish in there as well.
Yes, so I really like the sleeve.
Because I had to think about when I saw your song selection later, I was like, oh, is there black or gypsy or Jewish?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Make good music.
Yeah, and the funny thing is on the sleeve they mark even the Ave Maria by Mendelssohn. They forgot that he's Jewish, so.
Yeah. There's this great book. Oh, I can't remember now. The Mendelssohn on the Roof, a Czech book.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful. It's about Mendelssohn. I have to get Mendelssohn off the roof. In when the Nazis take over because he's Jew, and they don't know. There's a lot of statues of composers, and they don't know which one is Mendelssohn, and they think like, oh, the one with the big nose, but doesn't have a big nose, and they almost knock over Wagner, I think. But actually, there's this. It's a good book. I think it's written in the 60s. What's his name? Oh, I'll look it up. No, it's really the scene is like from a movie where how it starts. They get I think it's the opera house or the concert hall, and we cannot have a Jewish composer on the roof of this. So some workers they have to do it, and some little guy. It's a lot about. A different how you say a hierarchy, like some dumb, and they don't know who Mendelssohn is actually. So it's a whole different story, but now you say it, I can recommend the book. I will look up the name. I will tell you next time.
Yeah, perfect. As we are in this fun fact of Mendelssohn and these strange things going on with music for the German home, and we have the Jews and the Gypsies and the blacks on this label. There's a very nice personal story about one record that also is on the Slowball CD. And when I was a kid and started collecting these records, my dad told me, my father, who was born in 1927, and he grew up as a really minor swing kid, but of course those teenagers, they were aware of swing music. And he said his brother-in-law, his sister was 12 years older and she was married already. He was really a swing enthusiast and he had a nice record collection of jazz music. And he was so proud about one record that he played to my father, and my father really liked it. He was playing violin, classic violin, and of course entertainment music in school and with a small school combo. And when he became a soldier in 43, they founded a small trio, playing a bar trio, the Hot Stuff, in
nice.
Hot club style with accordion, guitar, and violin. And
wow.
One photo of my dad in Peenemünde in 1943 when he's 16, and he's playing violin, and his friend Dieter is playing the accordion. It's really very nice, very small photo, so I have to check again if I find it back. Yeah, but I really liked it. When I saw it by coincidence, it was really funny. And yeah, my dad was so fascinated by this record, and his brother-in-law gave this record because my dad said, I would like to bring it to school and to play it to my friends. And he said, yes, of course, bring it to the musical room. So my dad was putting it on the gramophone they had in the music room for the music lessons. And he wound up the machine and he put the needle And he said, oh, this is so beautiful music and it's so relaxed and the trumpet is amazing. And one kid in the school was a Nazi kid. He was the leader of the neighborhood for the Hitler Youth. Mm-hmm. And he was the personal replacer of Baldur von Schirach in Hitler Youth. And his mother was working at Völkischer Beobachter. And his dad was at the SS and working at Stürmer. So they were really a Nazi family. Living in the same street. Very bizarre, very strange. So this guy jumped up, ran to the gramophone, took the record and smashed it on the ground. And this was in 1940, during the war. So my dad really was shocked and he thought like, okay, this record is 2 marks. I have to get 2 marks. And then I have to replace this record. And he was running around from one record store to the other and he couldn't get this record during the war. But he told me, if ever you see If the Moon Turns Green, I don't remember the band, but it's the most amazing song. And I kept it in my mind. And when I got to New York, first time in my life, maybe in 1990, I don't remember exactly the year, I should look it up. I found a record store who had about 200,000 shellac-records.
200,000?
Yes.
Did you stay there for a week?
Not really, because you didn't look through the records. There was only a small basket in the front, but you had to ask the owner what you were looking for, and he showed you books. And he had catalogs to go through. Oh my and you asked him about one record, and he ran into endless shelves, and he brought back the record in 3 or 4 versions, 3 different things. Or he came back with a card in his hand, and he said, well, this is sold out. The last exemplary I had 10 years ago. Shall I put you on the list? I said, yes, do it. For example, I was asking for Reefer Man by Cab Calloway. He said, oh, that's a good one, but I'm not sure. And he came back with his card and he said, shall I put you on the list? But you will be number 16 on the waiting list.
Forget it.
And I said, well, and he said, that's funny. There's some German guys asking for it.
Really?
And he showed me the list. And I said, well, Eberhard Ganschow passed away 2 years ago. Horst Lang is an ass. Said,
no.
Okay. And he said, okay, you're not number 16, now you're number 8. We were making fun of it. So I asked him about If the Moon Turns Green. And he said, there is 2 versions. But I think your dad, when it's in 1940, yeah? 1940, this must be Taft Jordan. And he ran to his shelves. And he came back with 2 exemplaries. And he said, well, this is the first pressing. It's not in good shape, but it's rare. This is $20. This is a later pressing. It's in better shape. It's not so rare. This is $10. I said, I want the better playing record. He said, okay, take the cheaper one. So I bought this one on Mellotone at that time. Now, finally, of course, my collection of German labels, now I have the German pressing on Imperial Records, the king of records, Imperial, If the Moon Turns Green. But I brought back this Mellotone pressing from America. And my parents picked me up at the airport. And in my hand case, I had the records I bought in New York, of course, to take care of them. So before even drinking or taking care of anything, I told my dad, sit down, I have to play you something. And I took this record, put it on the turntable. And just the first 5 seconds, the intro, it was even not the intro, it was the first tones. My dad was like, oh, there it is again, If the Moon Turns Green. So Uncle Yanni would be so happy. And it was like, okay.
So nice.
Finally, it was there, and my father lost his guilt. And it's really a very, very beautiful song, and I like it a lot. Very beautiful.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Yeah. And the story for me was the reason to put it on the CD. And again,
it's beautiful.
Sharing, and here we go. If the Moon Turns Green, Taft Jordan and the Mob. on screen. That's really
It's beautiful.
so fantastic. And it's really a most amazing band. So it's really Teddy Wilson on piano playing, and Bobby Johnson on guitar, John Kirby on bass.
Oh,
The clarinet was Johnny Mintz, and Elmer Williams on tenor sax. So it's really a Teddy Wilson cast band.
nice.
And they made 4 sides, and they are really beautiful.
Yeah, I was reading because he's in this book, as I showed you. He played with Duke Ellington
Yeah.
for a while, and he was with Chick Webb, and he was playing in the Savoy. And he was very, very inspired by Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong was his superhero.
Yeah.
And at the last little sentences of this story, he's talking about his life. I think I have to read it. It's so funny. It's just short. I will read it because he's talking about some recording of Louis Armstrong. It was the song "Someday." What he said: "Would you believe that my German Shepherd knows when Louis Armstrong is playing? He may be lying by the window, in the bedroom, or in the bathroom, but he'll get up and come into the living room, and he lie right down in front of the stereo and stretch out on his side, and he only does that when I play Louis Armstrong."
Mm.
It's a German Shepherd that talking about a German home, a German Shepherd that lies in front of the stereo when he plays Louis Armstrong.
Very smart. But animals can be very smart, because you remember our little cat, Jack, Black Jack.
Yeah.
All loud.
He was so loud.
Lovely cat. Very small cat. And once when I bought records from England with rhythm and blues, the guy, he put other records in the pile to give me a favor or so. And there was one skiffle band that I really hate. It was Lonnie Donegan. And yeah, it's not really my music. And I thought, like, oh,
I know one nice song.
okay, let's check if maybe for a party you could use these records.
Never mind.
And I put the first Lonnie Donegan record, and our cat ran in the room, stared at me like, "Meow!" and started yelling like crazy. I stopped the record, turned around and got out. Okay, I took
Try again.
I tried out other records, anything, and I thought, like, okay, Doris Day, this one is shit, and oh, this is nice, Joe Turner. And I took another record of Lonnie Donegan. I played it. Within seconds, the cat ran back in the room. I'm like, oh, this cat is so lovely. He doesn't like Lonnie Donegan. This is my cat. Yeah. So I'm very smart with some musicians, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought this was a funny story. That Jeff Jordan's dog would only, come into the living room and laying on his side in front of the stereo. It's so funny. My dog would. I had a dog. He would always. There's this lovely series, The House of Elliot, of 2 sisters in the 1920s that have their own fashion house, and they have this little dancing tune with violins. And when it's nice to whistle along, but when it started, he looked at me and he would start to bark because I always was whistling with it. He recognized it. Even before I start whistling, he would bark.
Okay.
He did that later with the X-Files. There's this whistling song, but the House of Elliot, I think it started with that one.
Oh, okay. Nice, yeah.
The stories about animals.
Mm-hmm.
So you have another song.
Yeah, because right now I've learned that there's not only Balboa up-tempo, Balboa normal tempo, and slow Balboa that you play separately, but you mix everything.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the idea, thanks to many nice dear friends, and with Sandra and Axel in Vienna, for example.
Yeah, they
love slow things.
They do the Vienna, the Laminou and the Balboa and Laminou experience.
Yes.
Experience.
And
right?
on
Experience?
this CD, I put 2 very slow tracks that I like a lot. Thinking like, I want to mix the party. This is a Balboa swing CD, but it's the first CD that really breaks it down with At least
Yeah,
two
there's all
more
this
songs.
discussions about it, like swing is swing, but it really invites and slow boa is also a thing,
Yeah,
the topic of discussion, but it's
yeah, sure.
yeah, but it's quite big in Rotterdam actually. We have
Uh-huh.
two
Nice.
teachers that
Yeah.
are very. That's why we should have had the festival. Maybe we had the first course proper school that uh, in the world that
Uh-huh.
teaches Slobo. Like we had several courses now. I
Oh,
think they're more than a year, 1.5
yeah.
year now. Of
Uh-huh.
course, everything's stopped now, so let's see if it picks up again. But there were so many Slobo Boa events in Europe,
Yeah. Yeah, all over
more
the
and
country. Yeah.
more. So it's
More and
really
more.
is getting
Yeah.
it's getting quite a trend here. And yeah, I was supposed to DJ, and I haven't DJed. I DJed occasional slow Balboa song.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Mhm.
at Balboa parties, or even slow songs for Lindy operas, I like to do that as well when the time is right. But I haven't DJed like a real. Well, we had an event that had like a social dance. We mixed it with blues and slow
Mhm.
bow. It kind of
Mhm.
worked, but
Yeah.
it's a challenge to.
It is. Somehow it is. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
like
that.
I was like, how do you do that? Only slow music.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
I really liked the experience that once I was DJing upstairs in the ballroom in Herang for the slow drag night.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a very beautiful shift. After the opening, they played music, live music and DJ. And I think I was the first DJ after the live band stopped and the intermediate DJ. So I was DJing maybe from 2 to 4 or something like this.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's quite
I
full
felt
still.
like, okay, I can play all the flip sides of the records I brought. This can be very interesting. So I was asked to not go over a certain tempo, and I played some music that was still stayed bouncy, but when you do the countings, it's slow. But I felt like, oh, the atmosphere of the music is very challenging and pulling. It's not a fast song from counting, but the spirit is fast. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been learning. So I've seen people starting Lindy hopping in slow motion. And this, the slow drag night is special. And our head DJ, Megan, walked by and she said, wow, I think from the spirit, this is fast. I said, yeah, I'm learning. I'm still learning. And I think the next song will be better. And she said, okay, what's your plan? And I said, yeah, no, they had a little bouncy thing and I want to keep it still happy, but not
bit
bouncy. I
bit
want
more
it,
mellow.
yeah, sure. So I started playing a ballad by Joe Stafford, who normally I don't play because she's very pop. But Smoking My Sad Cigarette is such a beautiful ballad.
I
I
love the
played this,
title.
yeah, it's amazing. And I played this, and Megan smiled at me with her brilliant eyes all of a sudden. She said, this is beautiful.
Beautiful.
You got it. This I like. And I felt like, okay. She allowed me to do a not really mistake, but to get the experience of a
Yeah.
little error by trying out, and then to just break it down again into something very smooth and very fancy and very slow drag. And she said, this example is the best for playing slow drag music. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's good. Good to learn. So it's really a challenge to play only slow
Yeah.
music.
I've done also sad and oh, it's so hard not to fall into the blues.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah, it was my first. I only did it once, I think. I played a lot of earlier 1930s, late 1920s, a bit darker
Yeah.
songs,
Yeah.
which I really love. Some Duke Ellington kind of stuff,
Yeah, and I feel that there's a lot of
but
things
not
from
blues.
late 40s and early
Oh
50s
yeah,
that have this character of ballad and that are still done by swing musicians.
yeah.
And they are not blues. They are not pop, they are not blues, but they're just doable for slow ball, for slow drag, for things
For
like this.
slow dancing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So,
So you were going to play.
yeah.
It has a Dutch connection even.
Yes, Yeah, I've chosen one song that I really admire by a singer who made only a handful of recordings in her life. She was very famous in her days. She was one of the most amazing nightclub singers in Holland. She's Dutch, coming from the Jordaan in Amsterdam. Her name was Annie Schauffler. And during World War II, she was hidden. She disappeared. She was Jewish and she disappeared. And it's very interesting to find out there was a so-called Belgian singer from Antwerp in Berlin, and her artist name was Jo Evans. No, Jenny Even. Sorry, I mixed the names. Jenny Even. But there is no Jenny Even. And I found one swing kid who was friend with Jenny Even. And I showed him a photo from the 30s of Annie Schauffler, saying, "Who's this?" And she said, "Ah, that's interesting. She looks a little younger, but this could be Jenny." I said, "Yeah, you think so?" And I played a record of Jenny Even, and she has a very strong vibrato, and she sings with a heavy Flemish accent in German. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's her. She has this really shrill voice that is jazzy and appealing at the same time." And he really, I could see this 90 years old man all of a sudden was 25 again. And then I played a jazz record by Annie Schauffler with Fat Kendricks. And he said, the voice is a little lower, but
that's her.
She sounds like Jenny. I said, "No, that's Annie." So it's a guess. It's not sure if this is true, but it's a guess that during German occupation, she took another identity. She came to Berlin. She was recording. She was performing. She was singing on stage with bands in Berlin, being Jewish. And she was hidden on stage.
Wow.
That's a beautiful story.
It is.
It's not sure if really it is her, but Annie Schauffler is just an amazing singer.
It could be.
And again, I showed the CD, and I have to tell that this CD is licensed by GEMA. I paid for the
So Facebook should not cut us off. Yeah. we had that
Facebook
last time. I got a warning, and I could fix it, but
yeah, can happen that this is going to happen again because this once happened already.
Yeah.
And yeah, but
so what's
from the original shellac record? So the
orchestra
is called "There I've Said It Again," and it's very interesting. It's recorded in Brussels in 1946 by the harmonica player, mouth organ player Max Gildré, and Annie Schauffler is singing, and it's so beautiful. Slow music is just so beautiful, and it fits into the summer night. And here we go. Annie Schauffler.
Nothing to have. It's better than burning inside. I love you, no use to pretend. There, I've said it again. I've said it. What more can I say? Believe me, there's no other way. I love you. I'll melt to the end. There, I've said it again. I've tried to drum up a face that would sum up all that I feel for you. But what could her face is a thought that it makes it you not me, and it's heavenly. Forgive me for one thing you saw, but one thing I want you to know. I love you since heaven knows when. There, I've said it again.
melt away.
Oh, and you know, the harmonicas player, he's also Dutch.
Perfect.
Did you know?
No.
No, I had to look it up a bit.
Okay. He recorded
Also
in Paris and in
Jewish.
Belgium. Also,
He was in England
yeah,
a lot. He
yeah.
was on a
Yes.
TV show. But his name was Max van Gelder, actually.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was something in the war that he was part of. I don't know, with the invasion of France. And he went to Europe after the war. He came back. He's from
Yeah.
Amsterdam. He came back to find out that his parents and his sisters were murdered in the death camps, and he went back to England again and lived there forever. I didn't know, but the name was well, Max. I thought he must be Jewish, but yeah. And what was interesting also, it's just a little sideway. I had to look it up. I get lost when I read about people. You go into rabbit holes.
Yeah.
So his father Leon, he was in 1922. He was the European manager of Maya perfume. So it still exists as we know it more as the soap. You know, the Spanish, the black soaps with the red dancer on it. Do you know? We would say Maya. It's maja in Spanish. It's famous. Like aunts had it. Some people still love it. You can still buy it. And there's this Spanish dancer on it. And I found out this is also a very interesting person. It was Carmen Tortola Valencia. I didn't know. I thought it was just like a model, but she was actually a dancer. And she was like, okay, this is for Americans. I will say Oriental dancer, which is a racist word for people from the USA. In Europe, we use it differently, but that would be. She was a dancer. She looked a bit like I would say like Mata Hari. So she would dress up exotic, and she was all over Europe. She even was in New York, all over South America, doing her dances. Also, like African, Indian, Arabic dances. So, and she was also like a feminist. She was against corsets, and she had a lot of male lovers, intellectuals in Europe. But most of her time of her life, she lived with a woman. And I thought, like, there's one little clip on YouTube where I was like, in the 1910s and the 1920s, she was performing everywhere. So she was inspired, I think, by Isadora Duncan. And I was like, there's so much more information I would like to dig into. It's so interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
Just a sideway, just because Max van Gelder playing harmonica, his dad sold this perfume.
And it's funny because I met the name Max Gildré first time on Swing label in maybe 1939 in Paris.
That's the French label, right?
The French Swing label, yeah. And he recorded in Paris in the label of Charles Delaunay of the Hot Club de France, and he was part of this Hot Club de France. And that's how I knew his name, and I always thought like, maybe he's French. But yeah, okay.
He was born in Amsterdam. I think 1960. I'm not really sure. Something. Yeah. So more to learn. It's like, it's amazing. I will look up the Czech writer and I'll come back to that. But this was also interesting. I should look up Annie also in my book. Jazz in Rotterdam. Maybe she's not in there. If it's from Amsterdam.
A small homepage. I think it was even written in German. About her, about somebody who tried to find out about her, but she just disappeared. And after her death, and it's been, I don't remember, in 1998 or 2002 or something like this, that she passed. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden came the stories. And it's so amazing because I think I would say she's Europe's most jazzy voice you can imagine. She is playing jazz in this time. It's really incredible. Her timing is fully jazz and she doesn't sound European. She is different. She's different from anything you know from Europe because her singing is not educated in a classic way. She is not a beautiful, nice operetta singer, but she's just jazz. And I always get goosebumps when I listen to her. And all of a sudden, I could find out that in 1937, Coleman Hawkins was living with her.
Oh,
She was,
finally, we get some
she
gossip.
was, she was his lover for 2 years.
Thank
He
you.
was her teacher. They toured. There is one radio recording they made together. But
Oh,
the record of Coleman Hawkins and the Ramblers, some of these days, Annie de Reuver is singing. But the broadcast recording is with Annie Chaufflet. One
oh.
radio
So
record.
I'm happy to have some little gossip in
Yes.
in this time.
And during the war, she disappeared. So maybe she took this other identity. Because in 1945 from Berlin, she disappeared and she was lost.
Okay, we have
And
to.
this guy, he tried to find her in Antwerp, even through the police. And there never was any Jenny Even. She just didn't exist.
This was
Really
a
funny.
stage name.
She disappeared, and she disappeared again.
This is a
So in
beautiful.
1945, she made one record with Aimé Barely in Paris, Come to Baby Do. That's nice. It's poppy, bouncy. And then came this record with Max Gildré, and that's it. She was a nightclub singer, and she toured with, and again Holland, with Pia Beck for years. They were dearest friends.
Oh, there we
And
go.
we know that Pia Beck, she was what we call a Kesafata.
Of what?
Kesafata.
I don't know what that is.
She was lesbian.
How you say?
Kesafata.
I don't know that word.
Kesafata. Yeah, a smart daddy. He was a smart daddy.
Smart daddy. Oh, this is maybe we should end this talk with this because this was really this was a great story.
Yeah.
So what we had black people, Jewish people, gypsy people, gay people. Wow.
Perfect. People.
It's all.
People.
I mean, that's jazz.
And the best is we have music for the German home.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Heidi,
Okay.
this half an hour was another full hour. So
Yes, that's why I'm like, okay, we should
people
quit.
that our time counting is different.
Yeah,
We take half tempo, that's why.
it's a slow ball.
Slow ball.
Slow ball,
Yeah.
slow jazz. Oh, let's see. We probably will do another one. There's so much more topics, so we could
so nice.
discuss. I
Thank you.
really had fun. Oh, thank
enjoyed it a
you,
lot. It's so
thank you
beautiful.
very much for this. I will see
Thank
if
you.
I can get this. How I get this thing? And it. Oh, the technique. Oh, well. Bye bye Berlin.
By Rotterdam.
If my